First class isn't for people like you. Sarah Morrison ripped the boarding pass in half like it was trash. She had no idea that just 30 minutes later, the man with the worn-out backpack would fire the entire flight crew, mid-flight, on his own plane. Anthony Reed, the new CEO of a $2.3 billion airline, had just been bumped from first class for not looking the part. But this time, the victim didn't stay silent. And the torn ticket? It would trigger the industry's most public reckoning. What would you do if you were Anthony? Don't look away. This is how change takes flight. The Dallas heat still clings to Anthony Reed's black t-shirt as he navigates through economy class, past rows of cramped seats and suspicious glances. His phone vibrates against his hip. Another message from CFO Patricia Chen flashing across the lock screen. Sir, the board meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. He silences it without reading further, sliding into seat 28B, middle seat, between a snoring businessman and a teenager with headphones bleeding heavy metal. 20 rows ahead, Sarah Morrison adjusts her pearl earrings while briefing her crew in the galley. 20 years of flying has taught her to read people like safety cards. This one's money. That one's trouble, and the man in the ratty t-shirt definitely didn't belong in first class. She smooths her uniform skirt, checking her reflection in the stainless steel coffee pot. 5 consecutive Service Excellence Awards line her apartment wall back home. She knows quality when she sees it, and more importantly, when she doesn't. Captain James Hartford emerges from the cockpit, his silver hair catching the cabin lights. Everything sorted, Sarah. His weathered hand rests on her shoulder with familiar ease. They've flown together for 15 years, through turbulence both meteorological and human. Sarah nods toward economy. Had to relocate someone? Obvious fraud attempt. Hartford's eyes narrow with practiced suspicion. Good catch. Can't be too careful these days. Marcus Chen settles into 3A, his fingers already dancing across his phone screen. The viral journalist's Twitter feed refreshes with 50,000 followers waiting for his next exposé. He'd witnessed the gate incident, caught the torn ticket floating down, the quiet dignity of the man's retreat. His livestream app hovers one tap away. Something about this flight feels different, charged like air. Air before lightning strikes. The Boeing 737's engines whine to life, drowning out the flight attendants' practiced safety demonstrations. Anthony's fingers find his iPad, swiping past quarterly reports and acquisition proposals for Skylink Airways. 6 months ago, he'd written a check for $2.3 billion, securing 51% of the airline's shares. The board had wanted a splashy announcement, press releases, magazine covers. Anthony had chosen differently. Real change, he'd learned growing up in South Chicago's concrete maze, comes from understanding the ground floor before renovating the penthouse. Robert Whitman squeezes past the boarding passengers, his Armani suit rustling with self-importance. Sarah's face transforms into a sunrise smile. Mr. Whitman, what a pleasant surprise. Let me see what I can do for you. Her fingers fly across the passenger manifest tablet. Oh, look, we have a last-minute availability in first class. Must be your lucky day. She winks, gesturing toward the premium cabin where Anthony's seat sits empty, waiting. Anthony watches the exchange through the gap between seats, his expression unreadable as granite. His phone buzzes again. General Counsel David Kim this time. Employment law team standing by as requested. The message disappears with a swipe. Beside him, the teenager's music crescendos, all rage and revolution bleeding through cheap plastic speakers. The aircraft pushes back from the gate, Dallas sprawling beyond the oval windows like a circuit board of possibilities. Sarah begins her first-class service, champagne flutes singing on her silver tray. She pauses at Whitman's row, Anthony's former seat, letting her contempt for certain people who don't know their place flavor her conversation just loud enough to carry. In 28B, Anthony's fingers close around his phone's voice recorder app, pressing the red circle that begins capturing every word. Time stamps accumulate in his files. 1745, boarding discrimination. 1752, unauthorized seat reassignment. 1803, verbal harassment. Each entry builds a case as methodically as he'd built his fortune, one irrefutable fact at a time. The businessman beside him shifts, pressing Anthony further into the middle seat's purgatory. Outside, Texas disappears beneath clouds that look like torn cotton, like ripped tickets, like justice delayed, but not denied. Sarah returns to the galley, sharing a laugh with her crew about today's attempt at seat theft. They've seen it all before. People trying to sneak into luxury they haven't earned, don't deserve. The junior flight attendant, Emma, frowns slightly but says nothing. She's only been flying for 6 months, still learning the unspoken rules that govern 30,000 feet. Her trainer had said to follow Sarah's lead. Sarah always knows best. 3 hours to Los Angeles. 3 hours for Anthony to document what his undercover auditors have been reporting for weeks. 3 hours before the careful architecture of discrimination faces its demolition. His reflection in the darkened window shows no emotion, but beneath the calm surface, plans align like runway lights, guiding a plane through darkness toward an inevitable landing. 20 minutes after takeoff, the seatbelt sign dims, and Anthony unfolds himself from the middle seat's constraints. His knees protest from the inadequate legroom as he stands, moving toward the rear lavatory. Sarah's voice cuts through the cabin ambiance from first class, loud enough to carry, "Some people just don't understand boundaries. You give them an inch." The sentence trails off into meaningful silence. Marcus Chen's phone captures everything from 3A, his Twitter livestream already accumulating views like digital snowflakes. "Happening right now on Skylink Flight 1847, he whispers to his audience. "You won't believe what I just witnessed." Comments flood in faster than he can read them, hashtags multiplying like cellular division. Flying, while black, seat stolen, Skylink discrimination. In row 25, Eleanor Washington shifts her arthritic hands, pressing the call button for the 3rd time. The 80-year-old retired teacher needs water for her medication, but the service cart remains parked in first class, Sarah laughing at something Whitman said about his latest acquisition. Eleanor's granddaughter had saved for months to buy her this ticket to Los Angeles. 20 minutes pass. 25. Her throat constricts like drought-cracked earth. Anthony returns to find a young black boy, maybe 8 years old, standing in the aisle near row 22. Tears track down his cheeks as a flight attendant named Bradley towers over him. "I told you to sit down. Do you want me to tell the captain? Do you want the police waiting when we land?" The boy's mother reaches for him, her eyes wide with familiar fear. "He just needs the bathroom. Please." Should have thought of that before takeoff. Bradley's hand hovers near the child's shoulder, not quite touching, but threatening proximity. Anthony steps forward, his voice cutting through tension like surgical steel. "The boy needs the lavatory. Federal aviation regulations require reasonable accommodation for passenger needs." Bradley whirls, ready to escalate, then falters at something in Anthony's steady gaze. The flight attendant retreats, muttering about troublemakers sticking together. Anthony's phone records everything, time-stamped evidence accumulating like prosecutors' exhibits. He helps the boy to the bathroom, then stops at Eleanor's row on his return. Her medication sits unopened, waiting for water that never came. Without hesitation, he retrieves a bottle from his backpack, twisting the cap open before placing it in her weathered hands. "Thank you, young man," she whispers. "They used to serve us last in Alabama, too. Thought those days were gone." Sarah's laughter pierces the cabin again as she demonstrates the lie-flat seats to Whitman, showing off amenities Anthony paid for but can't access. The irony tastes metallic, like blood from biting his tongue. His iPad screen illuminates with an email from the head of Human Resources. "Per your request, termination protocols are prepared for the following personnel." The list awaits his confirmation like a guillotine blade suspended by digital thread. Emma, the junior flight attendant, watches from the galley with growing unease. Something feels wrong about this flight, about Sarah's behavior, about the man in 28B who observes everything with eyes that miss nothing. She's seen his type before, not the troublemaker Sarah described, but something else. Something that reminds her of her business school professors, the ones who could dismantle a case study with 3 precise questions. "Excuse me." A woman's voice draws Anthony's attention. Dr. Patricia Williams, neurosurgeon at Cedars-Sinai, extends her hand from 27A. "I saw what happened at the gate. Filmed it too, if you need it." Her phone screen shows the torn ticket falling, Sarah's sneer frozen in high definition. "I've been documenting other incidents during the flight. That elderly woman waiting for water. The child threatened for needing a bathroom. It's systematic. The aircraft encounters minor turbulence, bouncing souls in their aluminum container. In first class, Whitman's champagne splashes onto his Armani sleeve. Sarah rushes over with club soda and apologies, fawning over the stain like it's a wounded prince. Meanwhile, the economy cabin's overhead bins rattle loose, a woman's bag tumbling onto her head. No crew members notice or respond. Anthony opens his laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. Email after email launches into the digital stratosphere via the plane's Wi-Fi. Legal teams mobilize. HR departments prepare documentation. Board members receive emergency briefings. All while he sits cramped in 28B, building his case with the methodical patience of a master chess player advancing pawns toward promotion. Marcus Chen's livestream hits 100,000 viewers. CNN picks up the feed. Fox News begins preparing a segment. The hashtag trends #1 nationally, then internationally. Comments pour in from other passengers on other flights, sharing their own stories of discrimination at 30,000 feet. Skylink's social media team watches helplessly as their carefully crafted brand image incinerates in real time. Sarah makes another pass through economy, her eyes sliding over brown faces like they're empty seats. She pauses at Anthony's row, her voice dripping artificial sweetener. "Everything satisfactory back here? I know it's not what some people are used to, but economy has its own charm." Her emphasis on "some people" lands like a slap wearing a silk glove. Anthony looks up from his screen, meeting her gaze with the calm of deep water. "Everything's being documented perfectly, thank you." Something in his tone makes Sarah's smile falter for just a moment before she recovers, moving on with a dismissive hair flip. Behind her, Emma watches the exchange, a puzzle piece clicking into place in her mind. She's seen that measured confidence before in the executive floor of Skylink's headquarters during her orientation. But it can't be. Could it? The plane continues its westward journey, chasing the sun toward Los Angeles. In the cargo hold below, luggage shifts with each bout of turbulence. Above, in the pressurized cabin, a different kind of pressure builds. Anthony's files grow thicker with evidence. Marcus's audience swells with outrage. Sarah's discrimination becomes more brazen with each passing mile. And somewhere in the digital sphere, Skylink's stock price begins to tremble like the overhead bins, ready to tumble at the slightest push. Captain Hartford's voice crackles over the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, we're beginning our initial descent into Los Angeles. Should be on the ground in about 30 minutes. 30 minutes until landing. 30 minutes until Anthony Reed reveals what Sarah Morrison has forgotten. Sometimes the most powerful people in the room are the ones you can't see coming. Her 20 years of experience reading passengers is about to meet its final chapter, written by the man she dismissed before they even left the ground. The descent announcement triggers Sarah's final patrol through economy, her navy heels clicking against the aisle floor like a countdown. She stops at 28B, leaning close enough that Anthony can smell her lavender perfume mixed with recycled air. I hope you learned your lesson today about trying to sneak into spaces where you don't belong. Her voice carries the satisfaction of someone who believes they've won. Anthony closes his laptop with deliberate precision, his reflection caught in its black screen. I've learned more about your airline today than 20 quarterly reports could teach me. The words emerge measured, each syllable weighted with meaning Sarah doesn't yet grasp. Her laugh tinkles like breaking glass. Your airline? That's rich. It's not your airline, sir. It never will be. Captain Hartford emerges from the cockpit, his uniform crisp with authority that's about to crumble. Sarah's eyes brighten at reinforcement arriving. James, we have a situation. This passenger has been making threats about the airline. Hartford's chest expands with practiced intimidation, looming over Anthony's seated form. Sir, we have your information from the manifest. Continue this behavior and you'll find yourself on our permanent no-fly list. You'll never set foot on a Skylink plane again. Anthony raises his phone, the red recording light steady as a pulse. Please repeat that threat, Captain. My legal team appreciates clarity. Hartford's face flushes crimson, but he doubles down, years of unchecked power making him reckless. You heard me. We don't tolerate troublemakers. Security will be waiting at the gate. You're done with Skylink. Marcus Chen's live stream explodes past 500,000 viewers. The comments scroll too fast to read, a digital waterfall of outrage. Major news outlets begin breaking into regular programming. Discrimination at 30,000 feet blazes across CNN's Chiron. Fox Business notes Skylink stock dropping 5% in after-hours trading. The story spreads like wildfire through interconnected servers, each share adding oxygen to the flames. Emma, the junior flight attendant, edges closer from the galley. Her hands tremble as recognition dawns like a slow-motion sunrise. She's seen that face before, in the employee handbook, in the annual report, in the presentation that welcomed her to Skylink 6 months ago. Oh my God, she whispers, her training manual hitting the floor with a muffled thud. Anthony's phone buzzes with an encrypted message from General Counsel David Kim. All board members notified. Emergency protocols activated. Legal injunctions prepared. The CFO adds, Media response team standing by. Termination documents ready for your authorization. The head of HR confirms. Security and senior management will meet Flight 1847 at Gate B4. Sarah notices Emma's pallor, mistaking it for air sickness. Pull yourself together. We can't show weakness in front of difficult passengers. But Emma's eyes remain fixed on Anthony, her whisper barely audible over the engine noise. Sarah, I think he's... Sarah cuts her off with practiced dismissal. Don't be ridiculous. The CEO wouldn't dress like that. Wouldn't fly economy. Wouldn't tolerate what we've put him through. The realization hits Emma like decompression. What we've put him through. The sentence hangs between them as the aircraft descends through 20,000 feet. 19,000. 18. Each foot of altitude lost brings them closer to a reckoning Sarah can't yet imagine. Her 20 years of service excellence awards are about to become evidence in a discrimination lawsuit that will redefine aviation service standards. Anthony stands despite the seatbelt sign, his movement fluid with purpose. "I'd like to address the cabin before we land." Sarah moves to block him, her authority wobbling on its pedestal. "Sit down immediately, or I'll have you arrested for interfering with flight crew duties." Anthony's smile carries no warmth, only the inevitability of gravity. "Please do. I want law enforcement to hear what I have to say." Emma wordlessly hands him the intercom microphone, her decision made in the space between heartbeats. Sarah lunges for it, but stops as Anthony speaks, his voice filling the cabin like pressurized truth-seeking release. "Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Anthony Reed. For the past 3 hours, I've documented systematic discrimination aboard this flight. Against me. Against the elderly woman denied water. Against the child threatened for needing a bathroom." The cabin falls silent, except for the engine drone. Passengers crane necks, phones lifted to capture history in the making. Whitman shrinks into his stolen first-class seat as Anthony continues. "What you don't know is that I'm not just a passenger. I'm the CEO and majority shareholder of Skylink Airways. And what I've witnessed today isn't isolated. It's systemic. It ends now." Sarah's face cycles through emotions like a slot machine. Disbelief, anger, fear, landing on naked panic. "This is entrapment! You set us up!" Her professional veneer cracks, revealing the prejudice beneath. Hartford backs against the galley wall, his captain's wings no longer shields but targets. "You can't do this. I have union protection. 25 years of service." Anthony pulls out his corporate identification, the holographic seal catching cabin lights like scales of justice. "Check your employment contracts, Section 4.3. Discrimination nullifies all protections. You've both admitted, on record, to systematic bias." He holds up his phone, showing the recording timeline. 3 hours, 47 minutes, 16 separate incidents, all documented, all witnessed, all ending today. Dr. Patricia Williams stands in 27A, her neurosurgeon hands steady as she holds her own phone. "I've recorded everything, as have dozens of other passengers." Around the cabin, phones rise like digital witnesses, each screen a testimony to truth. The flight attendant who threatened the child tries to retreat to the galley, but finds his path blocked by passengers who've found their voices. Marcus Chen provides play-by-play commentary to his audience, now swelling past 2 million. "You're watching history, folks. This is what accountability looks like at 30,000 feet and dropping." Skylink's stock price plummets another 3%. Emergency board meetings convene in Dallas, New York, Chicago. The airline's carefully maintained image dissolves like Sarah's authority, like Hartford's career, like the torn first-class ticket that started it all. This story is unfolding in real time. Follow Black Voices now to witness how one moment of courage reshapes an entire industry. Effective immediately, Anthony's voice fills the cabin with CEO authority. Every crew member who participated in today's discrimination is terminated. He dials a number on speaker, the connection crisp through the plane's system. "Patricia, you're on with the cabin. Please confirm the termination orders for Skylink Flight 1847 crew." The CFO's voice resonates through the intercom. "Confirmed, Mr. Reed. Sarah Morrison, James Hartford, Bradley Simmons, and Rebecca Martinez. Security and HR are waiting at Gate B4. Legal has frozen their access badges and final paychecks pending investigation." Sarah staggers like turbulence hit only her, gripping the galley counter until her knuckles match her pallor. "This is illegal!" Hartford's voice cracks, decades of authority evaporating. You can't fire us for doing our job. Anthony turns the phone toward him, letting 2 million live stream viewers hear every word. Your job description doesn't include discrimination, Captain. It doesn't include tearing up valid tickets. It doesn't include threatening children. Each sentence lands like a judge's gavel, final and irreversible. Robert Whitman unbuckles from his stolen first-class seat, designer shoes carrying him toward the confrontation. This is outrageous. These people were just maintaining standards. I'm calling my lawyers. Whitman Industries has a fleet contract with Skylink worth $50 million annually. His threat hangs in recycled air, waiting for the impact that doesn't come. Anthony's smile could freeze champagne. Whitman Industries' contract was up for renewal next month. Was. The past tense hits Whitman like clear air turbulence. Your company's new diversity requirements won't align with ours, but I'm sure United will appreciate your business. Whitman's face drains of color as he calculates the switching costs, the renegotiations, the board explanations. Emma steps forward, her junior flight attendant wings trembling, but voice steady. I witnessed everything. I'll testify. Sarah trained me to identify those people who don't belong in premium cabins. She had a whole system based on appearance, speech patterns, clothing. The confession pours out like oxygen masks dropping, emergency truth in a pressurized lie. Traitor! Sarah spins toward Emma, but Dr. Patricia Williams rises from 27A, positioning herself between them. I'm a neurosurgeon at Cedars-Sinai. I've also recorded your training methods during this flight. Teaching subordinates to discriminate based on race is a federal crime. Her phone displays time-stamped video evidence, Sarah's voice instructing Emma to watch for certain types. The plane descends through 10,000 feet. 9,000. 8. Each foot bringing consequences closer. Anthony continues his cabin address. But firing individuals won't solve systemic problems. Effective tomorrow, Skylink implements mandatory 40-hour diversity training for all 15,000 employees, body cameras for all customer-facing staff, AI monitoring of all passenger interactions, and a new position, Chief Diversity Officer reporting directly to me. Marcus Chen whispers to his audience. The CEO just turned a discrimination incident into complete corporate reform. Real-time, at 8,000 feet. His viewer count passes 3 million. International news picks up the story. Airlines worldwide watch their own stock prices nervously as social media demands similar accountability. There's more, Anthony announces, his voice carrying the weight of prepared strategy. I've had undercover auditors on Skylink flights for 6 months. Today wasn't isolated. We have documented evidence of discrimination on 73% of our flights. Every crew member involved will face review. Every incident will be addressed. Every victim will be compensated. Sarah collapses into a jump seat, her 20-year career reduced to evidence in a discrimination database. Hartford removes his captain's wings with shaking hands, knowing they'll never pin to a uniform again. The other flight attendants cluster in the galley, some crying, others frantically checking their phones for legal representation. Eleanor Washington, the elderly woman denied water, stands despite her arthritis. Young man, I taught in Birmingham during the sit-ins. We changed lunch counters. You're changing air travel. Her weathered hands clap slowly, the sound picked up by dozens of phones. Other passengers join, applause spreading through economy like justice delayed, but finally served. Anthony reveals the final twist. Every passenger on this flight who experienced discrimination will receive full refunds plus vouchers for a year of free travel, not as hush money, but as acknowledgement. Skylink failed you today. We will do better. His phone buzzes with board approval, the cost calculated against lawsuits avoided, reputation salvaged, future earned. The child who was threatened for needing the bathroom peeks around his mother's arm. Anthony kneels in the aisle, meeting his eyes. No one will ever threaten you on my airline again. That's a promise from the very top. The boy's smile breaks through tears like sunshine after storms. His mother mouths, "Thank you," her own eyes wet with relief and recognition. 5,000 feet, 4,000. Los Angeles sprawls below like a circuit board of possibility. Sarah makes one last desperate play. "You set us up. You could have revealed yourself at the gate." Anthony stands, his response measured as altitude readings. "I gave you 3 hours to do the right thing. 3 hours to serve that elderly woman water. 3 hours to treat that child with dignity. You chose discrimination every time." The landing gear deploys with a mechanical thump that matches Sarah's heart. She knows what waits at the gate: security, lawyers, cameras, the end of everything she built on prejudice disguised as standards. Hartford Radio's ground control, his voice professional to the end. "Skylink 1847 on final approach. Be advised, we need law enforcement at the gate. For the crew." Wheels touch tarmac with barely a bump. Anthony's planning as smooth as the landing. As the plane taxis toward Gate B4, he opens his laptop one final time. An email to all Skylink employees worldwide appears on his screen. "Today, we failed our values. Tomorrow, we rebuild them. Together." He hits send as the aircraft stops, bridge extending like an arm of justice reaching for the door. The aircraft door opens to reveal 12 security officers and Skylink's entire senior management team lined along the jet bridge. Sarah Morrison freezes at the threshold, her final moments in uniform stretching like descent through clear air. Security Officer Williams, a black woman with 20 years' experience, extends her hand for Sarah's credentials. "Ms. Morrison, your badge and wings, please." The metal pins surrender with barely a sound. 20 years reduced to evidence bags. Anthony emerges behind the crew, his presence transforming the jet bridge into an impromptu boardroom. Chief Legal Counsel David Kim hands him a tablet displaying termination confirmations. All 4 crew members' access revoked. Final checks held pending investigation. The union's already called, but discrimination voids their protection clauses. Anthony signs with the same precision he'd used to acquire the airline. Decisive, irreversible, just. Local news cameras crowd the gate area, their lights turning the concourse into an amphitheater of accountability. Anthony steps to the makeshift podium, his black t-shirt and jeans contrasting sharply with the suits surrounding him. 1 hour ago, at 30,000 feet, I promised change. Change begins now. His voice carries through LAX Terminal B, through live streams, through boardrooms worldwide. "Operation Respect launches immediately," he announces, reading from his phone as initiatives cascade like departure announcements. First, 40 hours of mandatory diversity training for all employees. Not slideshow presentations, but immersive experiences. Every executive, including myself, will spend full shifts in entry-level positions. Every pilot will work ground crew. Every first-class flight attendant will serve coach exclusively for 30 days. The assembled executives shift uncomfortably, designer shoes scraping polished floors. VP of Operations Jennifer Walsh steps forward. "Mr. Reed, the logistics alone," Anthony cuts her off with raised hand. "Jennifer, you'll coordinate this personally. Starting tomorrow, you're flying middle seat coach for a week. Experience what 57% of our passengers endure. Then design better. Body cameras arrive in boxes, distributed like emergency equipment. Every customer-facing employee wears these starting Monday. AI reviews all interactions for bias patterns, not punitive, but preventive. We catch problems before they become viral videos, lawsuits, destroyed careers. He holds up a camera, its lens reflecting the gate lights. Transparency at every altitude. Dr. Patricia Williams emerges from the jet bridge, her recorded evidence transferring to legal servers. Mr. Reed, as a physician and passenger, I'm volunteering for your new passenger advisory board. Anthony nods, announcing, 25 frequent flyers, diverse backgrounds, reviewing our policies quarterly. Real voices, not focus groups. Dr. Williams will chair the committee. Marcus Chen streams the reforms live, his commentary weaving through Anthony's announcements. Folks, we're watching corporate justice in real time. No committees to study problems. No delayed implementations. Change now. Results now. His viewer count stabilizes at 4 million, making it the most watched corporate announcement in social media history. The terminal screens display Skylink's stock price, recovering with each announced reform. Investors recognize accountability as asset protection. Anthony notices, addressing the elephant. Our stock dropped 12% today. It'll recover when we prove discrimination is expensive, but inclusion is profitable. Every study shows diverse companies outperform. We're about to become the case study. Emma Chen stands with other junior staff, her courage rewarded with promotion to diversity training coordinator. You spoke truth when it mattered, Anthony tells her publicly. That's the culture we're building, where doing right supersedes doing easy. She accepts the new position with tears streaming, her 6-month career transformed from complicit to catalyst. Hartford emerges in handcuffs, federal marshals explaining charges for threatening passengers with false arrest. His captain's uniform looks like costume now, authority stripped with his wings. Sarah follows, her designer heels clicking their last march through an airport she'll never work again. Bradley and Rebecca trail behind, their termination letters serving as teaching moments for watching staff. Compensation begins immediately, Anthony continues, his phone displaying wire transfer confirmations. Every passenger discriminated against today receives full refunds plus $5,000 vouchers, not silence purchases but acknowledgement payments. Eleanor Washington's medical expenses from delayed medication, covered. The Williams family's therapy for their traumatized child, paid. Each announcement lands like rehabilitation hammering justice into corporate structure. The interdepartmental changes ripple outward. Hiring practices revised with blind resume reviews. Promotion criteria stripped of subjective, cultural fit coding. Customer complaint algorithms adjusted to flag discrimination keywords. A chief diversity officer position created at C-suite level, reporting directly to Anthony with veto power over operations decisions affecting inclusion. Lastly, Anthony announces as airport crowds gather like witnesses to transformation, the Skylink Scholarship Fund. $10 million annually for aviation careers among underrepresented communities. Not charity, but investment. Today's discriminated passenger becomes tomorrow's pilot, tomorrow's CEO. He pauses, letting weight settle. The boy threatened for needing a bathroom today? His college is paid for if he chooses aviation. Ground crew arrive to service the aircraft for its return flight, moving with newfound awareness that their CEO flies coach, observes everything, acts on injustice. Anthony watches them work, these employees he's never met but whose livelihoods he protects by protecting passenger dignity. Change flows down organizational charts like hydraulic fluid, lifting standards through every department. 6 months dissolve like contrails against clear sky. Anthony Reed adjusts his seatbelt in 28B, same middle seat, same black t-shirt, different airline. Skylink's transformation spreads through aviation like pressure changes before storms. He opens his tablet to review the numbers that matter. Discrimination complaints down 91%, customer satisfaction up 43%, stock price reaching record highs as inclusion proves more profitable than exclusion ever was. The flight attendant approaching his row stops mid-step, recognition flickering across her features. She's young, eager, wearing United's wings, but carrying Skylink's lessons. "Mr. Reed, I studied your case at Aviation Academy. Changed everything about how we're trained." She offers him water before he asks, her service extending equally through every row, every face, every human deserving dignity at altitude. Time magazine's cover glows from airport newsstands. The CEO who changed aviation above Anthony's image, this time wearing his typical t-shirt instead of the suit they'd suggested. The article details Operation Respect's impact. 15 airlines adopting similar protocols. Federal legislation pending that would mandate body cameras for all customer service positions. Discrimination lawsuits industry-wide dropping 70%, as prevention replaces reaction. Sarah Morrison's name appears in smaller print, a cautionary footnote in business school ethics courses. Unable to find aviation work, she manages a mall clothing store, her 20 years of experience reduced to folding designer jeans she once sneered at. Captain Hartford drives trucks now, his federal conviction preventing any position of authority over passengers. Their stories circulate through training videos, not as vengeance, but as consequences wearing teaching masks. Marcus Chen's documentary, Flight 1847, Discrimination at Altitude, wins 3 Emmys, its footage becoming required viewing at every major airline's training program. His follow-up series tracks Operation Respect's implementation, showing Anthony in middle seats across America, still observing, still recording, still refusing first-class upgrades. "Change doesn't fly first class," Anthony tells him during one interview. "It sits where most people sit, sees what most people see." Eleanor Washington appears in the final segment. Her arthritis managed by medication she never misses thanks to flight attendants trained to see humanity before hierarchy. "That young man didn't just change policy," she tells the camera. "He changed culture. My granddaughter flies without fear now. That's worth more than any settlement." The 8-year-old boy from Flight 1847, now confident and trauma-free, sends Anthony drawings of airplanes labeled, "When I Grow Up." His mother's letter explains how therapy helped, how the scholarship promise motivates his studies, how he tells everyone about the CEO who knelt to eye level and promised protection. Anthony frames the drawing in his office, next to his Harvard diploma, valuing both equally. Emma Chen addresses her 3rd graduating class of diversity coordinators. Her promotion to Vice President of Inclusion earned through courage that day in the galley. "Speaking up isn't betrayal," she teaches. "Silence is. Every time you see discrimination and say nothing, you become Sarah Morrison with cleaner hands, but dirtier conscience." Her students take notes on tablets provided by the Reed Foundation, opportunity digitized and distributed. Skylink's annual report showcases more than financial growth. Employee satisfaction reaches 92%. The company wins Most Inclusive Workplace 5 quarters running. Other industries request consultation on implementing Operation Respect principles. Anthony refuses payment for these sessions. "Justice isn't proprietary," he explains. "We open source equality." Dr. Patricia Williams chairs the Passenger Advisory Board's quarterly meeting, their recommendations reshaping everything from seat designs accommodating different body types to multilingual safety demonstrations reflecting passenger diversity. Her neurosurgeon precision dissects bias from policy like tumors from tissue, healing corporate culture through careful cuts. Anthony's phone buzzes with another acquisition offer, another airline seeking transformation through ownership change. He deletes it without reading. Real change comes from within, from CEOs willing to fly middle seats, from employees brave enough to speak truth, from passengers who document discrimination expecting justice, not just retweets. The plane descends toward Chicago, Anthony's hometown sprawling below. Somewhere in those streets, another young black man dreams of business school, of boardrooms, of changing systems from inside. The Reed Scholarship will find him, lift him, prepare him for his own 28B moment, when power reveals itself through adversity. "Ladies and gentlemen," the captain announces, "welcome to Chicago, where today's temperature is 75 degrees and skies are clear." Clear skies indeed, Anthony thinks, unbuckling from middle seat to merge with democracy's flow toward baggage claim. Behind him, every passenger deplanes with equal dignity. His legacy travels in their expectation of fair treatment, spreading through terminals worldwide like weather patterns bringing change. Justice flies coach now. It sees everything. It changes everything. One middle seat at a time. This story of transformation could be your story. Follow Black Voices now to join a community turning discrimination into determination. One voice at a time.